Yo, what's up, family? I'm back with a car confession. Today's topic is a rather serious one. It is dependency pardons violations. What do I mean by that, you may be asking? I'm glad that you posed that question. So, I've noticed, as many of you may have as well, that when it comes to sexual violations, when it comes to harassment, when it comes to domestic violence with most offenders, they're normally in a place of power. They're normally respected by community, etc. And more than anything, they are normally the breadwinners, the ones that are depended upon within the family. So what happens is it creates this environment where those who are within the family, within the community, are dependent upon that person. So let's take, for instance, a family. Let's take a family where because I'm a female, I'm going to start with females and then work my way to males. So let's say that the mother in the family is verbally abusive as well as physically abusive. Yet the children in the household depend on her for shelter, for food, etc. And so although there is this abuse going on, there's also this dependency. And so for the child, either I go and tell someone about this and lose the roof over my head. I lose my connection with my siblings, because a lot of times when children are dragged into the system, they are separated from their siblings. And it looks like they're tearing the family apart. So that's one example. Let's give another example with a male. The male is, in this case, let's say the breadwinner of the family, and he's physically abusive to the children and the wife, and verbally abusive to the wife, as well as a cheater. Let's say that all of those things are going on in within the household, outside the household, etc. However, there's a dependency there because he's set up a life where he has the wife not working. She's a stay-at-home mom, and he's the sole breadwinner. He handles the bills, he takes care of the money, and so there has been created this dependency, which then means that if I go seek help, then I lose all of this that has been built. I could potentially be torn away from my kids in a court system because I don't have the financial means to take care of them. I don't have a savings. I don't have this, and that. And so I would be out of this picture, this family, and my children would no longer have my protection from their father. And so that creates this pardon that the wife or the kids make in their mind. Well, it's Dad really didn't mean that. Dad was just mad. Mom only gets like that when she's drunk or tired. And it's a very dangerous place because it creates this normalcy. So when the children grow up and become adults and they find love, and love is abusive, that has become their normal. And so for them, it's like, oh, this is normal. This is what happened while I was at home with my mom. So why should I expect anything different from my spouse, my loved one? For kids that grow up with an abusive dad and see that their dad is constantly beating their mom, the young man may go out into the world and start beating your daughters because that became his norm. The young woman that grew up in that household, seeing her mom putting makeup on over the bruises and all of those things, she now thinks that is the norm, that is what love looks like, because that is the example that was set in her home. It creates this dangerous space where we pardon violations because we see this dependency. And so we go look for the same things that are toxic in the world. We become those same things that are toxic in the world. And so I say that dependency pardons violations because it does. With the current president of the United States, and just so that no one is confused, I am speaking of the Donald. The course of his life, the things that are now surfacing and coming to light, those things were pardoned behind closed doors. Money was thrown at those things. The grabbing women by their private parts, I just grab beautiful women and kiss them without permission. All of those things were pardoned at some point in his life for him to think that these things are okay and for him to continue doing so, i.e. it created a normalcy for him. For him in his mind, it's like, oh, this is normal. Like, this is something that I am allowed to do because I've gotten away with it. No one has checked me. There is no accountability. And that, to me, is the most dangerous place that we could be. And a place where violations, whether verbal, physical, mental, emotional, whatever, keep going, those things are not checked, not held accountable, thus creating this normalcy and this environment that we currently live in. I ask each and every one of you that hear this, that see this, please, 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 please do your part in trying to check any violation that you see, whether it's by word. If you have a boss who has said some inappropriate things to or around you, check those things. Yes, I understand that there is the fear and the risk of losing your job, but I also understand that if those things are not checked, you are almost, what is the word I'm looking for? You are, I'm sorry, the word I'm looking for is escaping me at the moment. But I will say that when you're silent, it's given permission to that person to continue in that way. So if you have a boss who is constantly making inappropriate advances at you or some other female or some other male, because I'm not just going to say that it's men that make inappropriate advances. I'm sure that there are women in the world that do the same. So if you see these things and you allow those things to take place, you're giving that person permission to continue doing that thing. And once one sees this thing take place and sees there's no repercussions for it, there's no accountability for it, it then gives others permission to do the same. So you're creating or helping create this environment that your kids and your grandkids are going to be raised in. So I'm asking that each and every person that watches this, that you take a moment to be courageous in those situations and call it out for what it is. Bring in some type of accountability and check those behaviors that are inappropriate, because these violations, when gone unchecked, become normal. For the woman who has been violated, I've been there, truth be told, there is this code of silence, there's this guilt, there's this shame that we carry. And one, it's super unfair for us to carry that and the offender just go off living their lives gallivanting through the world as if what they did was okay. It's not okay. And it is up to us to say enough is enough and call those things forward and make people hold others accountable. You cannot hold accountable things that are done in secrecy and never make it to light. It is up to us to drag the dark into the light and deal with it accordingly. I have really nothing else to say besides please, 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 people, let's all act courageously. Let's all call forth the things in which we know are inappropriate. Let's get some accountability, because if you don't say something, it's not just you that you're putting at risk. You're putting your children at risk. You're putting other women, other men at risk, because the violator is not going to stop with just you. They're going to continue. And there's many cases in the news today that will co-sign on what I'm trying to convey to us today. We must look these problems in the face head on and deal with them, because if we don't, we're only giving permission for that problem to grow and spread. Love you guys. I mean it. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your time. Signing off sincerely, RW. Peace.